I first found out about Chris online. Brit sets record for going up and down Mont Ventoux 6 times in a day, which made me a bit jealous because 3 times was enough for me. So he's a genuine hero to me. I sent him a tweet, we met up for a coffee, and the rest is history. He's a truly inspirational man. I'm going to give you over to Chris Ward. Give him a nice warm welcome.
Hello, I'm Chris Ward and I dress normally. I sort of feel humbled, obviously, after you sort of see the videos and the live reports of people around the world. It's amazing. What I've done is nothing like any of that sort of stuff. What I was going to say about the technology, though, which is amazing, is that my daughter said to me once, "You had computers before the internet. What did you use them for?" So Alistair mentioned this as well. You know, kids do everything. Kids want to do all this stuff all day long, and we don't. So why don't we? And so I sort of did a bit of investigation, and luckily I've got to work with a few people that have achieved a lot, and these are my conclusions and what I learned. I'm just going to press on to this. Right. So my bit first. I didn't leave school with nothing. I left school with 1 O-level. English Literature B, and if you remember CSEs, then I got 1 grade 1 in art, and I ended up working, steady on, trying to inspire my kids, and so I didn't leave with nothing, but I did end up working in a boutique chemist for 3 years behind the counter, where we sold records and did photographs, but I've gone on to achieve a few different things, so I've written a couple of books, and so out of office, you've all got free at this moment, and if you'd like to make a donation, it will all go to Will. Either Will or Audrey will collect it by the door on your way out, and I'm sure that will be used very wisely. So I wrote a book, and I love riding my bike, so yeah, I went up onto 6 times, became the oldest sort of Briton to do that. It was a mad French challenge, and I did have hundreds of people at the top waiting for me. I had my wife in a little Fiat 500 at 1 in the morning saying, "Come on, we've got to go home, it's late." and I work with charities, basically. I used to be the creative director of Comic Relief, and I've just started working with Richard Curtis again to try and text the entire world in 1 week, to try and reach 7 million people in 1 week in September about what are called the global goals, what all countries, presidents and prime ministers are signing up in September to what they're going to achieve for the world by 2030, and Richard Curtis's idea is to let the entire world know about it so they might more likely make it happen. And my job is to get them all a text message to all of them, so just a minor little job. And as well as cycling my bike. And I spend a lot of time with the kids and the family. That's really important to me. We've got 4 kids, 2 of them here tonight, and the wife's here tonight. And I never miss Audrey's netball on Friday afternoon, however busy I'll be. And talking about fitting stuff in, so a lot of this, you know, I haven't given up everything. I've still done stuff without giving up everything, and it's about fitting it in. In fact, the cycling after Ventoux is now led. I've actually just qualified to represent Britain in the Amateur World Championships for my age group, which happens in September. And so the training for this, I actually started this job last Monday in Norwich at lunchtime, so I just cycled there, so 111 miles, and I got there for lunch. And beat the coach that they all came up on, which broke down. Right. So, ordinary children, how do we grow up into live extraordinary lives? So who is this ordinary child? Who did they grow up to be? Wiggins. Who did that little boy grow up to be? Any ideas? Richard Branson. That should be a bit easier. Lewis Hamilton, I heard, and Desmond Tutu, which I managed to work with when I worked on the legacy of the World Cup in South Africa in 2010, which was a great honour. Who are these 4 ordinary kids? It's a band with a girl singer. So what happens when we grow up? What does stop? What is the thing that causes us to be boring? I think this is a piece of artwork by Banksy, actually. Our hearts grow smaller and our need for money grows bigger. And I think we're taught that the most important aspects of success in life is how we spend our money. And what I identified with the people that have grown up to achieve something is inspirational people decide that it's more important how they spend their time, not how they spend their money. And I think it's a huge difference. It changes everything in your life. And so instantly everyone says, well, we need loads of money. And I almost feel like the biggest thing I can do is just say, the living proof. I'm 52 in a couple of weeks' time, and I'm still here. I can still afford to wear clothes, and I can still afford to take the kids out, and I can still afford to do stuff. And I don't dedicate my entire life to just sitting in an office for 40 hours a week. So it is possible to get through it and out the other side. So this is how you can join them. These are the 10 things that just naturally I started to do, rather than deliberately. I just found, looking back, that this is what I do, and this is what I identified in the other people that I work with do. Break the worst habit we have. And I do think it's the worst habit, and that's what I wrote a book about. It's the habit of sitting in an office for 40, 50, 60 hours a week in the same chair. Who does that at the moment? I hope a lot of people here don't do. And this is, we don't need to do it anymore. We've sort of, obviously they invented Wi-Fi. And the rule for working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, was actually 200 years ago for the cotton mills. And it hasn't changed since, so unless you work in a cotton mill, then it's not quite relevant. And does your job really take as long as a hairdresser in New York or a lawyer in Calcutta? It doesn't. But we sit there and we make, and now what we've done with email is allow our work to take until the end of the day. So let's swap emails until about 5 to 6, we're going, well, let's do the email that makes this thing actually happen. And so I use that old-fashioned tool. I use the telephone. So I just ring someone up and make it happen in one phone call, and don't get into that email train. And so we have to break this habit. The growth of independent coffee shops has been a great growth of a habitat for people to work out of, and that's gone hand in hand with Wi-Fi. That's why you see tons of people in these indie coffee shops with laptops. But the growth of the two has gone together. And obviously you see a lot of the younger generation. Our oldest child is 19. There's no way that she's going to grow up and sit in an office for 40, 50 hours a week. It just, the life is mobile. It's called mobile. That's what it should be. And so I get in, I do my work, and I leave, and I do something else. So it's breaking that routine, number one. Number two, work when you want to, stop when you don't. That sounds brilliant. That's part of it. It's following on from that one, really. I work when I'm in the flow, when I've got my head down, and I feel I'm getting something really done. And as soon as that feeling goes, I stop and go and do something else. Invariably, I'll just go and get on my bike, because that's what I do. But I stop and do something else. I don't sit there and share pictures of cats, or just piss around, or waste time, or whatever. And I stop and do something else. And I get my work done 2 or 3 times faster that way, when I'm only working when I'm in the flow. And often that's easy to achieve by creating yourself an artificial deadline, like I want to see netball at 4 o'clock on a Friday, or it's going to be sunny shortly, so I want to get my work done. It's creating those deadlines for myself, getting it done, and the position I'm in where I can just go and do something else. Get a new diary keeper. So the new diary keeper is the weather person for me, weatherman, weather girl. So I literally, every morning I'll wake up and I'll look at the weather, and if it's sunny, I'm going to get on that bike, and if it's raining, I'll work. And luckily in Britain, it rains for 40, 50 hours a week, so I'm sorted. Apart from when, if I'm in the flow, like I've got a load of work to do, obviously a new job, so I'm full on, getting my work done today. I've worked solidly in 12, 13, 14-hour days, and then it frees up to, early next week I can go for a ride. But it literally is, I'll look, even these days now, I'm looking at the wind direction as well. So I cycled, so this week we went to see our daughter at Bath Uni, so again, I just cycled there. And so I might have to get up at 5:30 and leave at 6 in the morning, but that's the way to fit these things in. Don't get trapped by the trappings of success. And this is a major point, I think. It's, we can afford, we as a family can afford for me to do what I want to do. So that sounds fair. And because we reduced our spendings, we had a bigger house and we reduced the size of it because a bigger house didn't work for us, and because I couldn't stand in the kitchen and shout dinner time and everyone could hear me, couldn't hear me, so now they can hear us. And we, I don't have many clothes, we have a rubbish car, we had the worst car that you could fit 6 people into with 4 kids and us, which was a Fiat Multipla. which we had from the moment Audrey was born until the moment that Molly left home, which was 10 years. 6 was in that one car. And I don't have a watch, we don't, kids go to state school, there's no private gym. We don't need any of that stuff. We want to do stuff. Our biggest spend is going out for meals as a family, going to Nando's. We spend more money on that than Wagamama this week and whatever than actually buying things. We don't need to buy things. No one needs to buy stuff. But I was caught up in it. That's what I did till 40. I defined myself by the work that I did and the stuff that I owned. Don't get trapped by the trappings of success. Heed 5 lessons from life's most important teachers, other than Will. There are a few other teachers. I've written these down because I never want to get them wrong. It is, and it's quite famous and it's been around, but these are the lessons from the people that knew they were going to die, that are nurse-related, and the 5 most popular reasons that people gave about their life, how they wanted to live, that wish they'd lived their life. And number 1 was work less. Number 2 is let myself be happier. Number 3, be true to myself. Number 4, express my feelings. And number 5, stay in touch with friends. And we're all, invariably it's work that gets in the way of those 5 things. And I keep them on me because they're important to me, and I don't want to forget those things, and I don't want to be a person sitting there with regrets. I saw, in fact, it was a play last night. It was a brilliant play, and they said, "What's the sign of aging?" And it's not lines or losing hair or whatever. It's the feeling of more regret in your life, and you will want to avoid that. 6, eat cake on the Strava diet. So obviously you want to stay fit and healthy. That's if you want to live this life. If you want to fit everything in, you want to stay fit and healthy. And it does my head in with all these diets. There's one this weekend. You can it pays to do less or something. Or there's the 5-2 diet. There's all these diets. My diet is the Strava diet. I just cycle more than I eat, and that's it. Just all cyclists have got sweet tooth. And that's the only reason I cycle is got sweet tooth. So I ride 100 miles, be completely knackered, think I can't ride anymore, eat too much cake and think, oh bloody hell, now I've got to ride again to work it off again. It's just another ending treadmill. And just part of that, just also, I have one bike, which is a really good bike for racing on, and I have the worst bike in the world for cycling around town on, and I find it hilarious now getting overtaken, or I find it more hilarious when I overtake lycra-clad, carbon-wheeled cyclists when I'm on my 99-pound Halfords bike with a lock hanging off the side of it and about to fall to pieces. But it's the only way to get any exercise, and no one's going to nick it. So eat cake on the Strava diet. Number 7, live life in beta. So this is a big thing, and I think that if you live your life where money is dominating it, then there's a fear of failure, and I think we're built in. From an early age, a fear of failure stops us doing things, and obviously it stops some people doing anything at all. And the thing, live like beta being a sort of term to do with internet sites that are not ready, that go live. It's called a beta site, and that's how I try to live my life. You are never ready to try anything new. Obviously, you can't be ready to try anything new. But so many people stop themselves trying anything new until they feel they're going to be ready. There never is a right time, as well, as was saying earlier. There never is a right time. There are always too many reasons not to do something. But there are never enough reasons to do it, apart from the fact you just have to do it. So it's just live life in beta. Just get going. Think bigger, act bigger. This is sort of more of a work thing, really, that has helped me be successful. And I've seen it written around a few times, is that when we're doing, business is very competitive now, and business is really hard. And everyone's competing on that level, and you either have to be the best or you have to be the cheapest. But the little trick is to think bigger than anyone else, because everyone else is thinking on this level. So if you think, I need to sell 500 boxes of this or whatever, why not just think, right, why don't we try and sell 1 million boxes to someone up here? And that's the way I just found myself naturally thinking. And when you get up here, there's no thinking competition, because no one's thinking up here. Everyone's thinking exactly the same at exactly the same level. So it's sort of thinking bigger and acting bigger. And I'll tell you, it's easier. You become more successful, but it's actually easier. You don't have to compete on being the cheapest. 9, go back to the future. So a lot of reason why people are still stuck in the office 60 hours a week, apart from the fact they feel like they've only got 2 or 3 minutes here and there, is that they haven't got the motivation of what they actually would do if they had the time. If everyone had next week off, and you couldn't just sit at home and you couldn't use your phone, what would you do? And a lot of people have lost that motivation because they feel it's been taken away from them, that opportunity. And my thought is always to go back, you know, what did you want to do when you were growing up? Again, as kids, you know, I wanted to be a sportsman, I wanted to be a motor racing driver actually, which my dad actually took me to the careers officer and said my son wants to be a motor racing driver, and this was a state school in Farnborough in Hampshire. So, and to be fair to the careers officer, he went and found out and said you have to be a millionaire. And, but I think that I wanted to be a sportsman, and here I am, and that was at 15, 16, and here I am at 51, qualified to represent Britain, and there is no rush in life. You know, I'm just as happy that I've achieved that now as I would have been at 21 or 25 or whatever. There is certainly no rush, and actually as it gets harder, you know, it's harder to keep your career ladder going above the age of 50. Believe me, if you can earn some money, do it before you get to 50, because it gets harder as the workforce gets younger. But there is no rush, so you can achieve stuff, you can do adventures when you're older, you can do them any age. So that was my young thing, and then the other side is, you know, your bucket list. What do you want to do? That's your motivation. What do I want to do? Do it now, don't put it off tomorrow. Obviously, as people say, tomorrow never exists. You've just got to get out and do it. One more. Achieve your impossible just once. And if you achieve, so it was actually this week last year, I in fact just had pneumonia and got over it and entered a bike race. And it was just that Evans do a bike race called King of the Downs, which is going over the Surrey Hills, 10 hills in a day. And I just happened to latch on to some other riders and thought, how long can I last with that? And I happened to last until the very end. So I came 8th out of about 700 people, which is way beyond any expectation of what I thought I could ever achieve. And it just opened all sorts of doors for me. It mentally opened the doors. Blimey, if I could achieve that, what else could I achieve? And so just once, just try one thing once that you think is impossible. You achieve that, it opens up the whole world to you, it changes everything. You know, there was no way a year ago that I would even consider it. And I've got big ambitions, but there's no way I'd have considered representing Britain in the Amateur World Championships, and it wasn't on my list whatsoever. So just achieving one impossible thing once changes everything. And that could be, that's it. Go create your own blue plaque. You know, what's it going to say about you? Thank you very much.